You start the season number 7 in the country. What are your thoughts on that and just the progression of the program in general?
I don't. I mean, it's a great honor for sure. I think that it's a huge accomplishment and showed all the hard work the players have done. I think we set ourselves up in a really good situation from last year. So we had momentum coming into this year. So the rankings, they're great, but they don't really mean anything in the beginning. And it's funny because Coach Candrea told me one time, it doesn't matter what you're ranked in the preseason or during the season, it matters what you're ranked at the end, which is true. Because you can have all this hype and all these numbers early, and then it doesn't mean crap if you don't perform and play well because you can just be out of the pool like that. So I think we don't look at that stuff. We take one day at a time. The philosophy is just getting better every day and not measuring ourselves to other people. So not looking at 6 and 5 and saying we want to be that. We're trying to be the best version of us every day and whatever that looks like. And so working on that. But I think that just if you look at the progression of the program, when I came here, if I would have said, oh, we're going to be a top 25 team in 4 years, people would have probably said, yeah, right. And then now we're in the conversation and the first time ever being number 7. So I think we're finally getting the respect, but we also have the players and we're proving that we can be there. I think, it's been a long process. It's been a huge culture shift. It's been a ton of recruiting. It's been getting players like Ari that we had a relationship with to come to Arizona. It's getting the Dominiques, the TTs, and Amaris. So these are relationships from recruiting. If they don't come here, we don't win. So I think you got to have players. I told the staff the other day, like we can do player development. We're good at that. We can do that every day for like ever. But I'm never gonna turn someone into Ari. So it's like Ari has her skills. We refine her skills. We get her better and she'll be phenomenal, but I can't I'm never going to turn Sam into Ari or Ari into Sam. But so I think that you have to recruit the best players and people for the culture and win, but all that's important. But without Ari taking a chance on Arizona, without Sam taking a leap of faith and coming to a school where people told her not to come to, without Kate, the All-American, coming here, we're not where we are today. So they should be proud of like the legacy they started. I hope I answered your question. Okay.
PJ, go ahead.
Sure. If we could go back to recruiting a little bit, when recruiting is so hard and you have to project into the future, right? So when you started recruiting these 3, especially Nettie and Maddie, because you were one of the first or the first to give them offers, the team looked different than it does today.
Yeah.
So how do you sort of project out, like you didn't know that you were going to have a Bendu or a Shayna or, some of these other players. How do you sort of decide like, oh, we need a really good shooting guard who does X, Y, and Z, or we need a post player who does this?
Yeah. So I think initially what you think about is like, so you can't be that selective when you first get a job because you first come here, you're recruiting different players. So when I came here 5 years ago, we were like 300 in RPI, right? So there's no way I'm gonna get like the Shaynas, the Kates, like you're just not. So you try to get the best player you can at that time, the player that can bring you from like 11th to 9th, because you're not gonna get the player that brings you to first place like that year. So you're getting like better pieces. So I mean, I even think players like Sam, players that people didn't think that Sam would be as good as she is, but I thought she could be very solid, and I loved her basketball IQ. So you build pieces like that, great culture kids, great solid kids that will stay in your program. So we get players like Sam, and then as the culture starts to shift, you're just trying to work on culture first because if you don't fix that part, you're never going to win. So I think fixing the culture can make you go from like 11th to 9th, even with the same talent, because you don't have so many issues, right? So I think that culture thing was first, and then as we just had a little success, and then it's like selling the vision. But the challenging part about recruiting early was just selling the vision, because if they look at the evidence, they say, oh, you haven't won in 8 years. Like, I want to go somewhere else and win. So that was hard, but you have to sell. And I really believe that we would be good one day. So telling them, hey, you guys come together, we can be really good. So you're having to sell that picture and paint the picture, and then getting people to believe it is a whole nother thing. That's why the relationships are important, because if they know you And like Ari knew me. I recruited her at Washington. So she knew me since she was a sophomore in high school. So when they know you know who you are, know the type of worker you are, then they can believe in that more. And I think it makes it a little bit easier. I think without the relationship, like they're not going to come here and think. Bendu, perfect example. I knew Bendu. I recruited her at Washington. And then like I came to Arizona. She came on a visit to Arizona. So now it's like that 6-7 year relationship. And then it's like she wants to come here and she transfers, so she'll help us. So I think for showing that you can build something special and then just kind of doing it with the pieces, because now it's the team does it. So now people want to go to a winning program. And, but I feel like right now we can even recruit better. I feel like, I think the challenge is when you get better, it's like no one wants to come here last year and sit behind Ari. So I think those are challenges. They're different types of challenges. But what was the other part of your question, PJ?
So how do you decide, like when you first see a Maddie or Aaronette or something, or anybody else that you're recruiting, how do you sort of say, well, in 4 years, they're going to fit into my system once they, when they're ready to go to college? Like, how do you decide that? Because I know that there are so many moving parts. I know that there were a number of players that they weren't the only players you recruited, right? There's so many girls go all over and all that kind of stuff.
So you look at skills. So like the first thing I saw Maddie, you can't teach shooting. You can help someone become a better shooter. But like if a kid shot a certain way for 17 years, like I'm not going to come to Arizona the first year and like change her whole technique. Like we can modify the way she holds her hand, the way the ball like spins off her hand, the way she has her elbow out or in, like different, her feet being squared on balance, those things. But you're not going to like drastically change that. So you can't make someone become a shooter. Maddie is a natural shooter. She is someone who, like some people are just really good shooters. She's a really good shooter, but then she works at her craft. So I saw her work ethic. I saw her ability to shoot, but then I saw her. I think the things that stood out to me is you can find good shooters, but you can't find shooters that are super feisty, competitive, that want to play defense, that are in the gym like working on other stuff, like gym rats. So I think those are the things I look at because I knew she was going to be better in 4 years. And then like players like, Nettie. Nettie's a big post. There's two things you can't teach. Can't teach speed. Can't teach size. So like I can't teach them. I can't teach like Trinity to be 6'7", so it's like you can't teach those. So then I look at, okay, well, how is her footwork? But is she a gym rat? Does she love basketball? Because if she doesn't love basketball, she's probably not going to improve that much. So those are things I look at, and I look at culture. I look at their social media. I look at, can they help us recruit other players? Am I going to want to coach them? And for me, it's probably a little selfish, but like there's certain kids I don't really want to coach. So when I'm recruiting, I'm drawn to certain kids. Like me and Trinity had a very good relationship. Like it felt like I knew her for years. We had a click. With Sam, with Darren, with all those kids that we got, like there was something that like I felt. Ari and I have always had that. So because there's some kids like I talked to on the phone and it's like, I tell the coach, I don't really want to coach her. Like it's like pulling teeth talking to her. So like I don't want to coach that because I have to have a relationship. That's how I am, and that's how I coach someone better. So I think that those things I look at, but then you can't be an awful player and do that because then we can't win and then I won't be here. But so you're looking for all those little things and they all matter. Like Maddie comes from a good family. That's important to me. Her parents are great. She loves basketball, so she's going to improve. Like those little things matter. And I watch the way she talks to her teammates. I look at all that stuff. Because at the end of the day, I want to love the kids I coach. And I want to that's important to me.
Rich, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Coach, you talked about culture and vision for the team.
Mm-hmm.
You got a chance to sit down and reflect where you are in that long-term vision and goal with the rankings and people now around the country paying attention and looking up. Did you get a chance to sit down, reflect upon them, and then refocus those goals?
No, because I just had a baby, so no. I've been barely keeping my eyes open to reflect on practice. No, I'm just no, I actually haven't, because I think for me, it's cool. I love it. Am I happy about it? Yeah, because of how far we've come along. But for me, it's not good enough. Like, if you ask me at the end of the year and we go to the Final Four, have a chance to win a championship or win a championship, then I'm going to be like, yeah. Then I'm going to reflect more. But for me, it doesn't. It means something because of it's there, but it doesn't mean a whole lot if we don't play good. I think the hard things that I have been so focused on is like, okay, we have this good team, we have all this potential, but now it's like mixed, like getting it all to click. That's a challenge because now you have more depth. So like now you got to figure out playing time. Now that means your best players don't play 35, 38 minutes. So I think there's different challenges. So for me, it's like making sure we can sustain the expectations and exceed them, because we have high internal expectations, but it doesn't mean anything if we don't win a championship. Like if we win a Pac-12 championship, if we go deep in the tournament, then I'm gonna probably reflect and be like, wow. But I don't feel that way yet because we haven't proven anything yet. Like we have the chance to.
Yeah, let me follow up on that then. Now that people are paying attention around the country with the rankings, and those are nice and everything, how are you going to approach it this year being the hunted? There's a target on your back. People know who you are, as opposed to being the huntee looking for people. And how do you keep your team from getting too many people in their ears telling them how great they are and keep that focus?
Yeah, so that's an important point because it's very different. It's much harder to be the hunted. And I know that because I've been there. So I talk about that. Those are the exact words I use constantly. We have the X on our back. Everybody's going to bring their best game to us. And I give examples of how we used to be. I told our teams it's us against the Oregons, the Stanfords before, the UCLA's. Like, that's how we are going to be viewed. So we talk about that a lot. I feel like our team's really humble. I feel like they don't feel like we're there yet. I feel like we know that ranking's there, but I don't feel like they think, oh, we've just arrived. I really don't. And I think that I'd be more worried if I did. I have seen a more competitive drive, and I've seen the standards go so much higher. Like in practice, sometimes I don't tell them. After practice, I tell the coaches, damn, we're competing like crazy. I love it. I love it. We're like killing each other at practice, but I know that's going to translate. We didn't do that a year ago. So it tells me that they're hungry, and it tells me they're not satisfied because they're not chilling in practice like, oh, we're ranked 7th. Like, I don't see that. I see us like a team that's not ranked and like going at it in practice, or a team that, has had a little success, but that isn't satisfied. That's not what I see. So I'm excited. I don't think we're content at all.
One more, if you don't mind. Fan support has been so important to this program, and the energy that they've brought to McHale Center. How are you preparing for life without having fans in the stands? You've also done a really good job of reaching out to the community and getting them involved. How do you plan on keeping in touch with those loyal fans during social distancing that won't be inside the arena?
Yeah, first of all, not having the fans is devastating to me because I love the fans here. I think it's one of the most special things about Tucson and McHale. So that's devastating for me. I am optimistic and I am pushing. When I get asked, like I had a meeting last week about my view on fans, I am all for it for a couple reasons. I know some of it you can't go against like the guidelines of the city, but as soon as those are lifted, I'm all for having fans, even if it was 3,000 distance or 5,000, because there's a way to do it where we're not directly interacting. And I think that's fine. I think if people want to take the chance to come to a game, I think they should be able to. So I'm in complete support of that. One of the reasons why I'm so disappointed too overall is I really think we would have led the conference in attendance, and I really think we would have had 10,000 a game. That's what I honestly feel. So that's hard. I think for our players, we don't really know what to expect because we've never really had a gym. We've never been in a situation we've had a game without fans. So I don't even know what that's going to be like. I know on the Pac-12 calls we're talking about, like ambiance noise and stuff like that, but I don't know what that looks like. I have no idea what to expect. So I think for us, it's just we're focusing inward. We can't worry about that. I always talk about controlling what we can control. And we can't control those things. But I think the positive silver lining is we get to play. So I'd rather play with no fans than not play. So if it means no one's in the gym, if it means no families there, we got to play. We have an opportunity with a good team to play. So we want to play. So I think that they're not really as worried, but it's going to be very different. It's going to feel more like a practice, but I don't really, we don't really know what to expect because honestly, right now, I don't even know like the bench protocol. We haven't gotten it yet. So like I'm doing my best guess and like I'm spreading staggering the bench like the NBA and WNBA was, but I don't even know if that's the rule because no one's told us.
What
So like
about
we
what
don't
about reaching out to those fans that have been so good? You've done such a great job of cultivating interest. Are you going to be able to keep that connection between them without them being in the gym?
I'm gonna try my best. I've had a lot of meetings about this. We're gonna do just tons of like we're doing more live stuff. Like we're showing little bits of practice live. I think I'm gonna try to maybe see if they can host some stuff at Sands Club, or it's called Club Corp now. Maybe where they go and they can watch the game on the big screen. There's different stuff like that, but I don't. I'm not sure what else to do. There's social media. We're gonna try our best because it's important to me. So what that looks like, I don't know yet. Because there's a lot. Like, friends, I'm gonna give you guys an example. So right now, we're like 13 or I don't know, 12 days away from playing. I had another game canceled yesterday. So there's so much stuff going on. Like I'm scrambling, we have practice, I'm preparing the team, knowing we don't have a lot of time. And then it's like we have games canceled. So I'm calling all these schools trying to get a game, working on contracts. So and we don't have a game and we start in 2 weeks. So it's kind of like there's just so many moving parts. And like for me as a head coach, I don't know what the protocol is for in game. So my objective is to prepare my team. So we're going to be scrimmaging a lot this week and next week, but I don't even know how to prepare them when I don't even know what to be prepared for. So I don't know how our bench is. I don't know if we're going to wear masks when we go to the bench. Like we haven't received the protocol. So right now, all of us coaches are doing our best guessing, but we don't even have like the stuff to prepare our team yet. So I'm assuming it's going to be distance on the bench. So I'm doing that. I'm putting their own baskets next to each other. We're practicing that stuff, but it's like it could change. They could say double the distance. Like I don't know that kind of stuff, but I can't control it. So we're focused and we'll just do the best we can and roll with it. And I'm just happy we're playing. So even if they said you got to sit 25 feet apart and I got to stand with the N95 mask and then take it off to yell, but I'll do it because it is what it is. And we want to play.
Go ahead, Jed.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure.
You said a second ago you guys are scrimmaging and stuff like that. I mean, how close are you to normal preparation? 2 weeks out. Is it at all?
It's just different because I don't know. Like for instance, we're still wearing masks, and we're wearing masks because our team is very safe. We don't have to wear masks right now, but I choose because I want us to be as safe as we can to not take any chances before we start the season. So our players have been phenomenal. I never have to say, put your mask back on. I never have to say, you're not wearing your mask. I don't have to coach them on that. And so I'm just blessed. And our team has been very successful. We haven't had any cases or anything, knock on wood. So I think we've done well. But it's different because they're still wearing them and they're not going to wear them. But I don't even know if they're wearing them when we come in timeout. So there's just so many things that are abnormal for the preparation. But basketball-wise, like we're preparing because that's something I can control. So we don't have everything in obviously right now, but we're doing more game prep. We're putting more sets in. We have 6 new players, so there's been a lot of teaching. But we're not exactly there yet, and it's hard to tell my team you're playing in 13 days. Right now, I'm like, I don't know when we're playing. We're trying to play in 13 days. So we've never been in a situation like this. We usually know 7 months before when our opening game is. So right now our opening game just got canceled 2 days ago. So, and our third game got canceled. So right now, the only date in the game we have is the 29th against NAU. So we don't have the other games yet.
Go ahead, Alec.
Yeah, so going back to some of the fan things, we talked with Sam Thomas yesterday, and she says the team makes animal noises to get the team pumped up, and she says that they're going to continue that tradition this season. What can you tell us about have you noticed that starting? Are you a part of that?
No, I was not a part of that because I don't make good animal voices. But like I saw them and I was like, what are you guys doing? And I heard someone going, and someone going, and I didn't know what it was. I was like, what is that? And then they did. I don't know where they got that from. It's weird. But I don't know why they do that. Did she say why they do it?
Not really. She said that it helps them calm them and gets them excited. It's just something that they do before every game. But I was just curious what you thought of it, and seems to
Yeah,
be working.
well, I thought it was weird. I thought it was just like kind of a joke one day because they would be hitting and someone would be like, you know what I mean? I didn't know what it was. I don't know where it came from, but if that gets them ready to play, I'm all for it. I support it completely. But yeah, Sam does a great job. Sam is just phenomenal to have around because she does silly stuff like that for the team. She's a connector. She's our captain. She kind of does everything we need. So I don't want Sam to ever leave here. But I'll try to find out where that came from. But I think,
Okay.
but they're focused and locked in and ready.
Awesome. And then just another question from yesterday. We talked with Ari, and she was discussing her relationship with Shayna, and that seems to be going really well in the back court. I'm curious what you think of their relationship and how you intend to incorporate both of them into the offense. Because Ari was saying she's been playing more off ball and she likes that. So what have you seen from them, and
Well,
where's the direction?
they're great. Their chemistry is really good. I think all of our players. It's really interesting because any combination I put together, I feel like they have good chemistry. So I feel like I'm trying to figure out what those best combinations are. We're trying to stat that and play more live so we can see evidence for that. But Shayna and Ari, they're so unique in the sense that they're so fast, they're so explosive. They both get downhill so easily. So I'm excited to see them play more. Now, honestly, the past month, I didn't put them together a ton because they were so good at competing. So I wanted to see them go against each other. So I honestly, they didn't play a whole lot until recently together because when I put them on separate teams, we had completely even teams. We had those two going at it. We had, the post. I wanted it to be even and competitive. And then when I put them together, it got a little bit less competitive. So, but this year, actually, even putting them together, I still have competitive teams. Now the Bendu is on the other team and Darren. But their chemistry is good. I think it's getting better and better. I think they have a chance to do something very special. They have a chance to be one of the best backcourts in the country, in my mind. And I think that a lot of people will have a tough time guarding Ari and Shayna. I think how they make each other's lives easier is Ari's we're not gonna have to be shoving the ball to Ari with 4 seconds left or 7 seconds left saying make a miracle or run a play. I think the difference is her job's gonna be a little bit easier in the sense that Shayna can do that. She can break people down last second. Shayna can create shots for Ari. So I think what you're gonna see is they're both gonna be more efficient. You're going to see Ari's 3-point percentage go up. You're going to see her finally get easy shots that she never got. And you're going to see both of them really help each other. So I'm excited, but they're going to be I would not want to play against them. I would not want to have to prep my team for those two. I think it's going to be hard to do.
Go ahead, Kim.
So I wanted to ask a little bit big picture about recruiting, especially with the extra year. About the NCAA as a whole. We saw with like Arizona softball that when they gave the seniors an extra year, a lot of kids transferred out. And then I saw a coach the other day say she's signing no one right now. She's waiting for the portal this year.
Really?
Yeah. So I just wanted your opinion about what you think might happen with the seniors coming back around the conference, what that'll mean for women's basketball.
Yeah, I'm interested to see because I think it's going to depend on the school and their finances and how many can come back. But if we have a chance to do that, of course I would invite certain people I want to coach back. I think that I don't have the philosophy. I'm just waiting for the portal, just because that's not what I want to do. I want to ideally get freshmen like Lauren Ware and Darren and build them and keep them in the program 4 years. That's mine. But if I can add pieces like Trinity, Titi, Amari. Ari, if I can add pieces, I'll do that for sure. But that's not what I want to rely on. But I'm curious to see how many coaches actually take that philosophy or take that route, because I think a lot will. And also with the one-time transfer rule supposed to be coming into effect. So I think you're going to see a lot of portal activity. But I think that just relying on that is different. I'm interested to see how it's going to play out, because how many scholarships our team's going to get, how are the rosters going to be. So I don't know what to expect for that, because it's just so new. And you're right, like softball, I did see that. And I think that that's going to happen everywhere because let's say, in a perfect situation, if Ari came back, if Sam came back, that's going to drastically change our roster because then it's like, if you're a freshman behind those two positions, you sit another year. So I think that affects a lot of other players. So I think you will see a lot of transfers. I think that's just kind of going to be how women's basketball is now. You're going to see every school losing multiple people, and for a couple reasons: for this transfer portal, for the extra year, and for the one-time transfer rule that probably will pass, and for the fact that kids don't want to ride things out. They don't have patience. They want this immediate gratification. They want to come, play now, and they don't want to put the work in to get better. So I think for all those reasons, you're going to see so much movement, and I think because of the pandemic, you're going to see 10 times more movement because so many kids chose schools without seeing them. So it's going to be, I think for women's basketball, it's going to be very different the next 2 years.
Go ahead, Troy.
So I was wondering, in practice, with the returning freshman from last year, who's been the biggest surprise in terms of taking a step the next level that maybe you thought they weren't going to be at that point yet, and they just exceeded your expectations in practice? And also, how have the transfers integrated with the team? Usually when you bring in transfers, sometimes there could be chemistry issues, but it seems like they have been fitting right in from what we've heard from players.
Yeah, I mean, so the first thing is the return. You're talking about returners or just freshmen from last year? Or just overall returners?
Freshmen from last season.
So freshmen from last year, Helena Puello was, I think that the first year coming from Spain, living in America, the language barrier, I think it's an adjustment. I think she's adjusted well. I think she's improved a lot. Her body looks completely different. She's stronger. She's confident. She's speaking a lot better English. So I think you're going to see a big jump with Helena Puello. I think also Cheval's came back. She's stronger. She's fit. She's running the floor well. So I think you're going to see an improvement for her. As far as then you have Mara and Tara. There isn't one of them that hasn't gotten better. I think the difference is this: our whole team has gotten so much better. So I think the hard thing is with where we are now is that we have so much talent. It's going to be super competitive. And for someone like Cheval, who's a post player, she was a freshman last year, adjusted, came from Turkey, so saw the pace of the game is getting better. The challenge is now there's Kate still here, so she's an upperclassman. And then now we have Trinity. So Trinity is experienced. So Cheval has a chance to learn under Trinity, but it's hard because we now brought in someone else more experienced. So that makes things really competitive. And then as far as incoming freshmen, then you have Lauren. So the post is very competitive. Then you have the same thing with the guards because Shayna sat out. So now Shayna comes back. So it affects the returners, freshmen from last year, Mara, Tara. So it makes it very, very competitive. But that's what you need and want when you have a good team. As far as transfers, so Trinity has been an amazing addition. She has, she's been everything our team needs and wanted. She's competitive. She's fearless. Sorry, is that loud in the background? Okay.
Kinda.
My son, see Zoom at home. He's like jumping on a trampoline in the living room. So you hear a boom, boom, boom. So sorry. Hold on one second. Okay, hopefully that stops. Zoom at home, you gotta love it, You hear all kinds of stuff. So transfer, she's everything we need. She's fearless. She's tough. She's physical. So it's all the things that we didn't have. Like our post group, like they go at it. She's brought the level up. She's made Kate work way harder, and Kate's made her work harder. So I love that. They kill each other in practice. So one thing is those two are going to improve tremendously because they go at it, and I love it. It's like a healthy competition. But like Kate's going against someone who is like, Kate tries to move her and Trinity doesn't move. Trinity's really strong, but then Trinity has to guard Kate. Kate's like fast and runs the floor well, so it's pushed Trinity. So I love to see that. They are both. I think both their games are just going to go to the next level. But she's also brought us leadership. She's brought us a different culture in the weight room. We've made some changes. I'm really, really happy with our new strength and conditioning coach. It's like he's phenomenal. His name's Jaime. So the change with him, and then also the change with Trinity in the weight room. She's a gym rat in the weight room too. So I've never had that since I've been a coach at Arizona. Someone that loves the weight room as much as they love basketball has made everybody better, because she's in there pushing like 300. If you look on social media today, she's like squatting or deadlifting, whatever it is, like 300 pounds. Like, we weren't posting stuff. No one did that before. They were complaining about 300, like, it was just different, but she's now doing that. So then she brings Shayna along, Ari, and we're going to be stronger and better. So she's made a tremendous difference with that. I'm happy she's here. I love coaching her. If I can find a couple more her in the portal, I will be taking them every year.
We got just about 5 minutes left, so go ahead, Ryan.
You guys have three players who have conditions that make them more susceptible to COVID-19. I just want to know if you guys are doing anything to be extra precautious with them, and also if they've expressed any concerns about playing this season.
No, they have no concerns. And that's the funny thing is, you would think more players, I do read on social, like I read on the internet and stuff, that players opt out for different reasons, but I have not had that feeling at all. There isn't one reservation, there isn't one concern that Helena, Kate or Mara have. They don't, I think they're just more cautious in themselves. We talk about being safe and stuff, but our team is very safe. They're so focused on playing, they're not going out and taking risks. So they've been really good about our masks. They know we're in the mask longer because it's safer for us. So it hasn't been an issue. No one said anything. I think my concern as a coach is like commercial travel. Like, I'm very worried about that. I'm worried because our commercial travel isn't like a nonstop flight to LA every trip. It is like to Corvallis, where you're traveling 9 hours. I'm concerned because our players aren't going to not eat for 9 hours. It is a major concern of mine. I think chartering flights makes a drastic difference, and it's much safer. So that's just something, I don't know what's going to happen with that, but it's a big concern for me. And then for me personally, I'm another person at the risk too, because I have a newborn baby at home. So it's kind of like, but do we want to play? Of course, like, there's no doubt about it. But there's just extra factors, and what I'm trying to stress to the team is, these three have a situation, so you need to be more concerned and keep them safer, because it's very dangerous. So, but they all want to play.
I just have one more question. Tara and Sam do TikToks, and they get a lot of engagement with that. What do you think about that in this day and age of recruiting, and you try to get any advantage you can? I mean, does that help your program, you build a brand and awareness with some recruits?
Yeah, it does, for sure. It helps, no doubt. All the social media stuff helps when it's good. And like, you can see it helps by the likes, because then you have more people talking and watching your program. It does help, because yesterday we had not a media day, but we had a photo shoot. So we added like a couple hundred the last few days. Like, that's pretty big on like Instagram. So I think people are watching. I think winning does the first part, because the more people want to watch your program. But I think when you're showing different personalities and exciting things of players on your team, I think people are drawn to that and they relate. And I'm always talking. So when I'm recruiting, I'm pretty authentic, and I talk about, or transparent too, like probably too transparent sometimes, but I'm like, if I want to coach you, I have to be myself. But like, I want them to see the difference. So when you see Sam, I want you to look at her as a freshman. Sam, you couldn't have paid Sam to do a TikTok 3 years ago. She would not have. You could have said, I'm going to give you $5,000. And because, like, let's say the NCAA changed the rules and you could, she would not have done that for $5,000. Now she's TikToking away. So I love to see the confidence change, because to me, I'm doing my job. It's like they're changing on the court and off the court. So those things I talk about recruiting. So that's the stuff where it really helps. Because I'm like, you go look. I mean, you guys can even go look at social media. Look at Ari. Look at like how you guys interview Ari. How was she 3 years ago? How is she now? You should see a difference. So that stuff is evident, and that's where it helps on the TikTok, social media, even more than anything else, in my opinion.
All right, Coach, that's all the time we have. So thank you very much.
Cool, you guys. Okay, thanks, you guys. Be safe. Hopefully they let you guys come to the games. I hope you guys get the special A pass. Adam can make that happen.